So this is it, guys, the 200 series all packed up, quad on the back, rooftop tinny on. We're jetting off tomorrow actually, so all packed up, ready to go. 2 other vehicles coming, about 10 days, heading north. Hopefully some dunes, hopefully some fishing in the rivers. We'll see how we go. Welcome back to the channel, guys. This episode I'm just going to show you some gear that I take to head north to make it a bit easier for touring and a bit easier for some of the camping that I do. Last episode I did a bit of a run through on the vehicle, a rig rundown or a rig review, whatever you want to call it. So if you haven't checked that out, go and have a look, and that'll give you a bit more detail about the vehicle. It was pretty comprehensive, and it took a lot longer than I expected. So go and check that out though, and we'll get started on this. So we'll start in the cab. It's bloody messy already, and this I assume is going to be really, really messy. It always does get messy. Stuff just gets thrown in here, but basically I've got my iPad for navigation, UHF for a bit of communication with the other boys, and I've got a heap of camera gear that I'm going to take on this trip, which is not usually with me, so I have to be careful with it so I don't wreck any of it, and some of it's not mine. So thanks, Joel, for lending me a heap of your gear, mate. So yeah, I'm going to GoPro as much as possible, and camera gear is going to sort of live in here, but there's no spare seats, so hopefully the other vehicles and the boys, they're all sweet in those. I can't believe I packed this whole car just for me, and there's bugger all room. So let's check out the back and then move into the canopy. So this is basically Donnie's seat back here. He's got a little gap in there that he can fit. My gear bag's going to go up here with all my clothes and stuff. Need the essentials, got to have some beers, and I've got a little 12-volt fridge there as well. I throw that on the quad, and just as we're cruising around can have cold water and stuff like that, maybe a frothy or two that are cold. I'll try to keep that as empty as possible for Donnie to chill out back there and spread out. This one, sleeping. But it's going to be an absolute mess. Dirt everywhere, sand everywhere, hair everywhere from Donnie, but it should be sweet. So let's check out the pantry on the other side. I just got done saying how dirty it's going to be. We're just pulled up on this grass bit, and Donnie's just walked into this muddy as puddle. Check it out. Hey, stop. Show me how you're gonna get back into the clean vehicle. Gross. That's where he walked in, just over there. Just thinks he can go for a swim. I wasn't paying attention. All right, let's get back to it. So this is gonna cop an absolute hammering, I think. This is all the snack foods and stuff, but all the dry foods. So cutlery, dry foods, jars of stuff, canned stuff, rubbish bags, cleaning stuff, all that has gone into this pantry in here. So beverages in there, so I'll keep most of my drinks in there. I've got the other fridge packed with some food already. I'm going to do fridge freeze on the other one, and this is just at fridge, about 2 degrees. So yeah, some pastas and stuff are sitting in the back there, but other than that, that's loaded with some food and stuff like that, and all the cold stuff can be in the fridge. Donnie, get out. He's still running through the mud. I'm gonna wash you in a minute and you're not gonna like it. Let's check out the canopy on this side, hey? So 75 litre fridge in here, dual zone. I showed all this stuff in the last episode, so if you want any more detail, either ask a question and I'll answer it for you, or go and check the other episode, full run through the vehicle. So I've just packed up this. They're gonna run freezer on one, on the smaller side, and fridge on the bigger side here. The oven's set to go. We're going to throw some frozen pies in. We'll keep those in the freezer. And up here, just got some toilet paper, butane gas, little pot to boil water on the fire or on the stove or anything like that. So yeah, that's pretty much set. Not a lot of gear fits in there, but it's a good space for the fridge. Let's go in the back of the tray and see what I got, and then we'll work our way to the other side of the canopy, and I'll show you a few more things that I've got to take, as well as what's in the quad trailer. Let's go. All right, so in the back here, this is the 1200 gap here, and I can put my quad in here if I take the ladder rack out. But for this trip, I've got the tinny on the roof. Donnie, stop growling at the rock. Tinny on the roof for this one, and some people might think this is really unorganised, but having an open space for a runaround vehicle in town, you know, using every day is bloody awesome. Bad thing about this, you get a bit of dust back here, so it would be nice to have another canopy. But also, heap of dirty crap can go back here. So I've got crab pots back here, which they can be pretty dirty and smelly at the end of the trip. and you can give it a quick hose off even on your trip. So everything in here can get pretty dusty and even wet. If it's really soaking wet, I throw my swag up in the top cavity here, or I can put more stuff up there, but it suits pretty well and I try to pack it the best I can. All right, so this is my outboard motor, and this is on a bit of a slide. It's got nylon blocks underneath. It's good for sliding on and off the rubber here, but it's 15 horsepower, little Yummy, 2-stroke. I just take it on and off myself generally and just leave the slide up here, but you can always get it out, sit on the ground. You've got somewhere you can motor can sit on, which is good. Here's the fuel tank for it. It sits back here, fill it up easy at the servo if I need to before I go. Swag's up the top. I got a camp chair in here. I got some crab pots, some cherubim pots, and a little table, fold out table just from Bunno's. Let's just have a look over here. I've got a couple little crates that I'll show you. Kindly donated by Coles. These flat pack and they are awesome to use. So a couple of these, one just goes in a tinny and it's got the anchor, it's got some spare fuel, spare water, and safety gear, like a couple life jackets. And that I just keep that in the tinny most of the time when I'm up there. And then in this one is just other bits and pieces. I've got some cat food, really, really good. If you don't have any stuff for crab pots or for cherubim pots, chuck a can of cat food in. Some work, some don't so much, but easy, not as much mess. Just don't leave them in there at the end. Make sure they don't come out of the net. Make sure you retrieve any rubbish that you put in there, and take the paper off the can before you chuck it in, because the paper just disintegrates and goes into a system. You don't want that. So if you really don't have any fish frames or anything to use, that's a good one for cherubim pots and crab pots. What else we got in here? So I've got a bag that's for my rooftop tinny. It goes into my hitch, and it's just a like a bump stop that the transom can work off, or a transom plug. I don't even know what they're called, but I just got a Rhino one, I think, and I'll show you some of the footage now of putting my tinny on up onto the roof and how I secure it, how I winch it up, the winch that lives on top of the Rhino rack there. All right, over here, cast net, really good if you want to get some live bait. If the hard bodies or soft plastics aren't doing so well, I'm not the best fisherman in the world, so sometimes a live bait, especially at night, sitting there on your camp chair is bloody awesome. So need a cast net for that, which you can do in Queensland. You can cast bait fish. Can't do it in every state though. So what else we got here? Let's keep moving around. So in here, just got a 12 volt compressor. Throw that on the battery. It's a King's Thumper, I believe, the dual thumper. And I can show you that actually. I'll get a bit of footage of it now. And it's a cracker. It pumps the tires up so quick. I had a hard mounted or hard fixed one in my Ford Ranger before this. Portable's really good, so I can chuck it in the quad and things like that. I'd probably fix another one next time, especially if I was doing air lockers or something like that, but this seems to be working really well. It's not too expensive. I don't have to worry about it too much, and it's been performing really well. I just changed the end piece, and I'll show you. I put an ARB end piece on it, and it can just stay on the valve then, and I don't have to stand there. So a good little trick, you can have a frothy while you're pumping up your tyres, you can leave it, but just watch those pressures obviously. Up in here, I've just got a chainsaw, a little MS-170 that I've been using. My father-in-law gave me that, and it's a cracker, little 2-stroke and light, easy to take on the quad. I think one of the other boys is bringing a big chainsaw. That's the other thing, you don't want to double up on a lot of stuff, so we've communicated pretty well, us group, and you don't want to double up. I have a habit, and I've probably done it this trip, you just take way too much crap, and the more and more trips you do, you start to realise what you don't actually use. It just seems like a really good item at the time. You go, I'm going to use this heaps, but you don't end up using it so much. So that's pretty much everything in here. I've just got a rope, run over the swag. Here's a trick for you, run your rope through your swag straps. I don't think I've even done it there, but my straps are falling apart. That's a Sahara swag Vagabond, I think, a Sahara swag Vagabond. It's an unreal swag, so comfy, so roomy for a single, but the straps have copped a flog and they don't like the sun or the salt. I've had them on the boat a few times actually, out in the salt. So anyway, run your rope or your strap through your swag straps. That's in case if it does get loose, you got a second bit of insurance to hopefully hang on to it. Up here, I've just got my rod tube in up there, and that's just simply cable tied Probably not the best thing to cable tie my rod tube, but seems to work for me pretty well, and it's actually snug in there so it won't come out. But all right, let's have a look at the canopy on this side. All right, canopy on this side. Let's put those lights on. I've got a bit of solar, so a solar blanket in here. Fixed solar on your roof is awesome, but I don't really have a lot of room when my tinny doesn't cover it. So fixed solar is what I'd definitely go for if I could, always charging in. But for now, I've got a solar blanket, and I think it's 200 watt or 220 watt. Some extra little lights that I can string up. Fish and tackle takes up the most bloody room, and I don't really catch any fish, but I just love having the gear. So there's the fish and tackle box, and here is just a burner with a lid on top. It's a really awesome burner, just from Bunnings, and chuck that in the tinny, you can keep it in here. Sometimes I bring my barbecue, my Weber, and that goes in the back there or up here. For this trip, one of the other lads is bringing a heap of cooking gear as well, so we're fine, we don't want to double up too much. Drawer, let's have a look in here. All right, so mostly in this drawer is tools. I got my cordless Makita tools, all battery operated. I run 3 of these, 3 amp batteries. I do have a charger and I can charge them off the inverter, but I've seen most of the time on my trips, the couple weeks, I can get through those. I don't have to use all the power in those batteries, so they last pretty well, I guess. So I've got an impact gun, I've got a grinder with a cutting blade and a grinding blade just in here. I've got a blower, good to blow all the sand out of your swag, things like that, any dust off anything. And I've got a little tech gun in case you need to fix anything. Grease, good for bearings. This is just a hose to siphon water into my 100-litre water tank here if I run out. And I've got some more water I'll show you in the box on the quad. Some electrical terminals, so they're pretty much fuses, terminals for wires, lugs, bits and pieces like that. This is just a bag of my, every time I grab a tool, it's probably this tool. So just common tools, pliers, Black Panthers, or they're not black, are they Panthers? Sterling, Allen keys, things that I most commonly use are in that bag there. Degreaser, these are some air filter, these are filters for my snorkel. They slide in at the top there, and I showed a little bit more of that in the last episode of that rig run through. Screwdrivers, I got a socket kit here. I've got my jack kit in here as well for my bottle jack. That sits under here. Spare oil filter. My main, sorry, not spare oil filter, spare fuel filter. So my pre-filter and my main filter in case I get any crap in my fuel. And then some electrical stuff, spare bolts, spare relays. Nothing crazy. I should have spare hoses, but I don't. Radiator hoses and things. I do have some stop leak and stuff, things that'll get me through. Multimeter, really important, especially because I wired up most of my truck. So I always need a multimeter, wondering why I'm not getting power. Spare things for the tinny, so spark plug, impeller, some ends for the fuel hose, fuel line, a fuel filter. Anything goes wrong in the outboard, I can try to fix that. And that's really about it for in here. So I'll show you what's in the off-road trailer in the front box there. So before we keep going, I just thought I'd show you this. In my toolboxes on the side, I've got a tool bag that's got all my hammers. It's got a an axe in there, or little tomahawk axe. Donnie, what are you doing, mate? It's got zip ties. You need zip ties. I've got metal ones and plastic ones. And in here, I've got a bigger bottle jack because of the lift and to get the weight and things like that. So a bigger bottle jack in there. So that's that one. On the other side, we don't have to go around there. On the other side, I've got a camp oven, pegs, things like that. Donnie's food, water bowls, that sort of stuff. So in the front one here, I've just got any straps, a dustpan and broom, and my factory jack. I mounted in the bracket just up there, so I can show you that, how I mounted that. That's probably the last jack I'll use. You can use it for little things though. It's always good to have a couple jacks, but the bigger bottle jack is what I'd use to lift my truck. So, all right, rear drawer, all the safety gear, straps. I got a fold-up shovel. I got some jumper cables. I've got tire deflators. So this is like a quick deflate. And also got some Storm deflators. You screw those on and it slowly deflates to a certain PSI. Good for if you're going on sand, and a bit quicker. Some spare bearings, some stuff for the chainsaw for mixing oil, 2-stroke oil, tree protector, snatch strap, extension strap. What else is in here? Some rubber grease, grease gun, yeah, brush. Getting a bit dirty here, so yeah. Also, really important, this, which is a plug kit for tyres. So really important. I've got a couple of these, one in the quad as well. But this is my plug kit. Really good. Make sure you got one of those. Quad trailer, nothing too fancy. This is it's actually an epic quad. It's just got leaf springs with a set of 285s on it and pretty decent bearings under there, with a bit bigger of an axle. I think it's 50 by 50, maybe 40, but it's solid axle, so a bit more challenging to bend, I think. Quad goes on there. That's just a Polaris. It's a 500, and hopefully stay tuned on the next couple episodes, and I'll be getting this out, and you can see how we use it going up north, and hopefully in the dunes it'll be bloody awesome. This is the box I got on the front. It's just starting to rain, so I'll get this done now. And in here, struts don't work anymore. Struts don't work anymore, so I've got to put that there. All right, in here is the ramps to get the quad on. A couple of smaller Trek recovery boards. They're good for the quad. That's what I used to run for my Ranger before I got the Max Tracks. The Max Tracks are up on the side of my roof rack, so I don't know if you saw those before in the start, but I've got 4 up there, so they're good for a bit of recovery as well. Got a tarp in case I want to roll my swag out, or you need to get under your car or under the trailer, throw it on the ground, jump on the tarp. There's a live bait bucket, I guess, in there. There's 2 30-litre drums of water, 20 litres of fuel, and a smaller 10 litres of fuel, which I can strap to the quad. And that's about it. Bits and pieces, some spare bearings, a Hawaiian sling sitting up there, a PVC tube to fish off the beach. Just random stuff. So that's the quad box trailer, or the quad trailer box. So that's really about it. There's not much else stored back here. I've got the box on the rear of the quad, and that's just got another plug kit, tyre plug kit, and what else is in there? Some tools and things for the quad, yeah, some spares, stuff like that. That's pretty much all the stuff that I take. One thing I didn't mention is the fishing rods that I take. I've got 4 in there, 4 rods, 2 spinning rods, or 3 spinning rods, sorry, and 1 overhead casting rod. A lot of the gear lives in my truck. It's just those few extra things like sleeping and extra camping stuff is what I need to chuck in the truck before I go. But I try not to overload. The trips that I've done, I've always come home and gone, I'm not taking that again, not taking that. One thing that I don't have on my truck that will go with us is a generator. It's a really good backup, and we're gonna be pounding the batteries with freezer and fridges and things like that, and a couple other trucks that are coming. So we're gonna bring the Jenny just a bit of a backup, and one of the other boys has taken that. Well, that's it for packing and what I take north, or what I take when I'm touring or camping. Stay tuned. I'm gonna start filming our trip tomorrow. It's gonna be a mini Cape series. So subscribe to this channel or jump on the Facebook, Instagram pages, Mat 28, and you won't miss it. I'm hoping to get a few episodes out of this one of us heading north. There's lots of stuff closed up there at the moment because this is early. It's just after the wet season, just finishing. So hopefully it's some interesting places that we get to that might be pretty wet. Let's see how we go. Cheers guys, see you on the next one.